Hey y'all, welcome to the Clock Tower. I'm Colton and I'm really excited about this one. Today we're talking about a fantastic deck that is going right to the top of the meta. Of course, I'm talking about Milky Holmes in English Weiss. Let's get right to it. The object of the deck early in the game, get oversizes on the board to build resources, and then the end game closes with early play vanilla swings. This is, of course, the best deck in the meta. It's very straightforward, but it's incredibly effective, beats everything in English right now. The two souls come down early, doing damage at level 2. The combo at level 1 consistently gets that level 2 game together. It's just about impossible to clear this board at level 0, and by the time any opponent can start winning board, this deck is off to the races. It has everything it needs. Not only is this deck the best deck in English, it's also the cheapest deck in English. Unbelievably, this deck was distributed for free as a promo to teach people how to play Weiss. You can find them online super easily, $10 or less. The deck is literally pre-constructed, comes with everything you need. There are only 13 cards in the entire set, but it doesn't matter. They work together to build something that is absolutely overpowered. Let's get right to the level 0 game, which is all about getting those oversizes down to win board and keep hand. We'll start by talking about this Nero. It's the only undersized 0 we run. It gives 500 to each detective character in front of it. We're going to get these into our back row, and we're going to keep them there the entire game. Gets us power from both back row positions all game long, and can help get these already big zeros over the top to not only win board at 0, but to contest board at level 1. Let's get into those oversizes. Cordelia Glauca is a 003,000. You could call it a vanilla. It's technically a vanilla, but in reality, in the modern meta, where most stuff at level 0 is, 1,000 power, 1,500, even 2,500 power, this gets over all of that. With both of those back row Neros and this in the center lane, it gets up to 4,000 offense and defense. Really hard to deal with, and if you can deal with this one, you have to deal with this one. Joint Investigation, Kokoro, and Shadow. This has a potential plusing mechanic. On play, you can rest a character. If your opponent has this card on field as well, which they will in the inevitable mirror matches that are going to be clogging the top tables at all the major tournaments, you play rock, paper, scissors, and the winner draws a card. That feels like a 50-50 mechanic, but realistically, you just throw scissors and you win just about every time. Everyone thinks that you're going to throw a rock, so you catch them off guard, throw scissors. Works at least a third of the time. This just bolsters that 0 lineup. It's basically the same thing as the Cordelia, but with an additional potential plus on top of it. Absolutely broken. We run it as a 4 of. Finally, Shadow Under the Cherry Blossoms, 3,500 power at 0. On play, reveal the top card. If it's not a detective, we put into our clock. That's not a real demerit, honestly, because it basically turns this into a Ricky, getting us into level 1 so we can start getting our combo down. No downsize there. Gets up to 4,500 in the middle lane if we have both of our assists in the back row. Fantastic power at 0. Wins board on offense and defense. So what are we going to do with all these resources that we saved by dominating the board at level 0? Well, at level 1, we're going to run the combo that gets us even more resources and sets up our endgame. Problem Child Nero is a 1-0 that sits at 5,000 on its own, but of course gets power from the back row because it's a detective character. Combos with the Stock Soul on attack, pay 1, salvage 1. This basically is the only thing we need to get our endgame set up. It doesn't get that big, but it doesn't need a reverse to get its combo off, and it gets big enough anyway so that if we get to level 1 first, perhaps with that faux Ricky, we really don't need to worry about it. And the Stock Soul pays for the first attack, so if we're out of stock, doesn't matter, we can still combo in all 3 lanes. Next at level 1, we play Milky Holmes Ellie. It's a 1-1, 7,000 power, gets up to 8 with the back row, can help us win board both offensively and defensively. This is great because it can't be removed from board by level bombs. You need to run a cost bomb in order to deal with this. And not only does it win board on offense, it could potentially contest standby targets on both offense and defense because we run this backup. Pessimistic Thoughts Ellie's a 1,500 backup, can push that 1-1 over 9,000 power, can even deal with Data Lives level 1 standby targets. Incredibly useful backup. We run 4 of this. Finally, at level 1, we have Leader of G4 Kokoro. This is an off-trait vanilla that has decent size. It doesn't get power from the back row, but it sits at 5,500. It's another card that can kind of flow into our hand for level 1 in case we need an extra thing to play into an open lane. It fixes for red, which helps. And probably most importantly, it gives the faux Ricky at 0 an additional target. If we reveal this when we play that card, we can put this immediately into our clock, potentially level ourselves. And if our opponents see us mulligan this out of our first hand, they can think maybe we're playing something with these traits, catch them off guard, and throw down detectives instead. And then finally, level 2. We don't play a level 3 in this deck because we don't need it. The 2 souls come down early at level 2, and they swing for game, so much so that we don't even need level 3 cards. And of course, the most important level 2 is this 2/2 9000 Shy Girl Ellie. Basically, it's a conditionless early play. It comes down at level 2 no matter what. 9000 power, 10 with the back row, 11 if we slam the salvage climax, which we do not need because this is a combo-less top end. We can just slam the climax whenever we have it in our hand to give us even more power and push damage. And because we don't need the combo, it basically lets us run empty salvage, which fixes our hand even more. I don't know what else I need to say about this. It's super easy to get into hand with the combo, gets on board with 2 soul, we can slam climaxes to push even more damage, and then just keep throwing these down as needed throughout the course of the game until we beat our opponent to a pulp. It's just that easy with this deck. Also at level 2, we run this Shadow. This gains 1000 power if all of our other characters are detective. It's an easy condition to fill. It gets up to 9,500, 10,000 depending on where it is on the board. Usually we want to have the 2/2 in the middle lane so it gets both of the 500s from the back row, but this at least comes down at 9,500. It's a big body, doesn't have the 2 soul on it, but with the combo it gives us 2/3/2 or 2/3/3 across our front row. Excellent power. Just keep slamming these down, keep slamming climaxes, keep slamming the 2/2s. This is a really good option if we maybe don't have enough stock to tri-field the 2/2, but still solid option at level 2. Pushes damage, gets nice and big. And then finally, as a last resort, we play the 2/2 event, Cat Ears Magnifying Glass. This is if for some reason we don't get our combo, which we will probably 90% of the time, but this is our fail-safe just in case we don't. It's an on-play search 2 event that basically takes care of the endgame on its own if we weren't able to get the combo together, so we don't need to worry about it too much. It also compresses our second deck by going to get characters and characters only out of the deck, leaving the climaxes be, compressing us further. It's on color. There's no condition to play this. You don't see a whole lot of search 2 events that don't have some other kind of condition. This is a rarity. It's really solid, and it takes care of any problems that we might come across. So yeah, this deck has an incredible number of strengths. It keeps board at 0 and even fights for it at 1 with those oversizes. It can even do so at level 1 with the 1/1 and the backup. The combo is really straightforward, and it gets our level 2 game together just about every game, and even if we don't, we have that 2/2 event to take care of it. The top end is comboless, basically just a bunch of early plays that don't have early play conditions, comes down early, swings big. Whenever we slam a climax, we get even more power and soul. There's nothing not to love, absolutely no weaknesses, can play into anything in the meta very, very effectively, will be a favorite in just about every matchup except maybe the mirror if your opponent is better at rock, paper, scissors. In the mid game, we want to tri-field the combo if we can with Neros in the back row for power. Again, the stock soul gives us our first stock so we can go right down the line, paying 1, paying 1, paying 1 to salvage 1 in each lane. If we don't need to salvage 3, if our endgame's already kind of in our hand, we can technically throw down the off-combo level ones here, the 1/1 or the other 1/0 that sits at 55, all of which are useful in this spot, but usually we're going to want to try to combo in all 3 lanes if we can. It pays out any climaxes that we potentially triggered, and it just gets us more stuff into hand that we know that we can use going forward. And finally, the endgame, of course, we're going to want to try field those 2 soul Ellies as much as possible. We have the 2/1 Shadow if we want it, but these are our 2 soul beaters that do a lot of damage and win us the game, especially if they come down early and can really start winning board. So we have other options at 2, but between the combo and the event, we should be able to get these into our hand regularly and just keep throwing them down if they ever leave the board to keep pushing damage. This is usually the part where I talk about what other cards from the set you might want to run in the deck, but here it's just these 13 cards. There are no other cards in the set, and honestly, the set doesn't need any more cards. It has so much power packed into such a small package, it doesn't need any alterations. As soon as you get that deck in the mail, you unwrap it, you sleeve it, and you go and start winning locals and regionals. Realistically, even Worlds is in play with this deck, playing at this level. And also, there isn't really a deck list for this because, again, it's pre-constructed. You literally go to eBay, look for this, spend less than $10 on it, and then when it arrives in the mail, you have all 50 cards exactly the way you need them, and that's all you need. It's incredible to me that Bushiroad at one point were just giving away a deck with this much power. It's not expensive, And in one fell swoop, you have access to the deck that can carry you all the way to the top of the meta. So that's all I got. Thank you so much for joining me for this very special deck check. We will have gameplay for this deck on Thursday. Next week, a clock talk on Tuesday, and 5 cards, 5 minutes for 7 Deadly Sins the following Thursday. Man, I don't know how we're going to talk about any other set after this, but we're going to do our best. 7 Deadly Sins, 5 cards, 5 minutes a week from Thursday. Brandon will have his next deck check in 2 weeks. Until next time, thank you so much for being here, and have a good one.